So the topic for today is quotients, which indicates division. So today we're going to just talk about division. The biggest issue is going to be when we have fractions. That's when the issue comes. First of all, what does division mean? And there's a few different ways we can write division. So A divided by B, as an example, can be written in the following three ways. First of all, you can write it as A over B. That means A divided by B. In other words, this fraction bar right here means division. Alright? So you can write it as a fraction, it means division. We typically do that if we can't simplify it any further. We can write it with this lovely division symbol, with the line with the two dots, A divided by B. Or we can write it as multiplication. What we do when we divide, because remember, when we're dividing fractions, what do we usually do? Take the first number, switch this to multiplication, flip this upside down. So this is the same as A times 1 over B. And all this is the reciprocal of B. Alright? Whatever B is, flipped upside down. These are the three ways that we're going to write division. And so which one you use depends on what's handy in a particular problem. What's going to work for that particular problem. So the next thing we're going to talk about is positive or negative. And the rules are the same for division as they are for multiplication. If you have an even number of negatives divided, you'll get a positive answer. If you have an odd number of negatives divided, you'll get a negative answer. Now, there is then the whole issue of when I end with a negative fraction, where does the negative go? Well, wherever you want to put it. You can put it out in front of the fraction, you can put it in the numerator, or you can put it in the denominator. In general, I find this to be bad form. So if I end up with a negative down here, you will see me move it to one of these two places. And so if you're wondering, why did that negative just move? The answer is because I think it looks neater in these presentations, and it's got to end with a negative, that's where I'm going to put it. So I'll just move it. It means the same thing. So wherever you have yours, that is fine. Now, let's start out with an example where we're going to do division with fractions, because fractions are where all the issues are going to be. To divide by a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. So here's what we've got. 15 divided by negative 3/2 is the same thing as 15 times negative 2/3. Alright? Let's remember how we deal with fractions. Put a 1 under there so you have two fractions. You can, it's your option, you can cancel from a numerator to a denominator, or you can go ahead and just multiply across the numerator and across the denominator and then cancel. I like to cancel first so I don't have to multiply as much stuff. But the issue is, don't be so messy you can't follow your own work. That's the only issue. So 3 goes into itself once and into 15 5 times. So I'm going to do that cancellation. So here's what I got. Positive times negative is going to give me a negative answer. My numerator is 5 times 2, which is 10. My denominator is 1 times 1, which is 1. If you end with a 1 in the denominator, please proceed to the next step and simply drop that off. Alright, let's go to the next page. Okay, so here's what we've got. These, by the way, are two division symbols. Alright, so I've got this divided by this, divided by this. Here's the issue. To do division, and I've got a fraction involved, I want to multiply by the reciprocal. So everything after a divide sign is going to flip. So here's what it's going to be. Negative 100 times. Flip this upside down, so it's now 1 over 25. Change this to multiply. Flip this upside down, so this is negative 2 over 1. All right? Never cancel with division signs. Get multiplication signs first, and then you can divide. Or then you can cancel. So here, I'm going to put a 1 under here. First of all, I've got how many negatives? 1, 2. My answer is going to be positive. So here's what I've got. 25 goes into itself once and into 100 4 times. So here's what I have. I have 4 times 1 times 2 is 8 on top. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1 on the bottom. Go to the next step. This is just 8. This next example will trick you. Would you agree? This looks like negative 35 divided by 35, right?
No.
It is not, because in division and multiplication we go from left to right. This will trick your eyes and make you say negative 35 divided by 35. It is not. This goes first, left to right between multiplication and division. So negative 35 divided by negative 7, 2 negatives give you positive. And then I have multiplied by negative 5. This will give me negative 25. Don't let your eyes trick you. Go with the rules. The rules are the order of operations. All right, next one. Here I have a lot of stuff going on. Go back to the order of operations. Fraction bars and grouping. Do the whole numerator and whole denominator separately. In the numerator, the thing that goes first, parentheses. So here's what I've got. 7, 2 minus 15 is negative 13 plus 1. On the bottom, I have exponents and I have division. Now this always gets tricky. You cannot do plus a positive here. The reason why? Because you have an exponent here. So here's what you're going to do. Carry this negative sign over to here. Now, this is negative 6 times negative 6. 2 negatives gives you a positive. This is positive 36. Then we've got divided by 2. So here we go, another step. In the numerator, oh boy, I'm going to need a calculator for this. 7 times negative 13. 91. So that will give us a negative 91. Plus a 1. On the bottom, negative 36 divided by 2. I know that one by heart. That is negative 18. Go back to that numerator. Negative 91 plus 1 is negative 90. Divided by negative 18. And you know what? I'm going to try and divide this because they both are divisible by 9. So hang on. It is 5. And negative divided by negative is positive. So positive 5. Go to this box over here. Keep in mind the difference between a negative 6 squared with no parentheses and a negative 6 in parentheses squared. They are different. This has 1 negative and 2 6s. So it's a negative and a 6 times a 6, which will give you negative 36. Here, we have a negative 6 in parentheses squared means negative 6 times negative 6, which is positive 36. All right, the last one, D. I'm going to show you how to simplify this. Do you remember when we add and subtract fractions, right? We have to have a common denominator, right? We add the numerators and our denominator stays the same. Let's do this backwards. All right? That means that this, before it became this, with a common denominator of -2, used to be this. -10 x to the 4th over -2 plus 8x squared over -2 minus 2 over -2. All right, would you agree? I have a common denominator, so I can add and subtract across, which is right here, keep my common denominator. I'm just doing this process in reverse. And the reason why, I'm going to simplify this, and simplify this. All right? So -10 divided by -2 is +5. I have 8 divided by -2 is -4, so -4x squared. This one gets to be tricky because what ends up happening is everyone's like, oh, it cancels, bye-bye. No, it cancels, it doesn't go bye-bye. That's the thing. 2 divided by 2 is 1, all right? So there's going to be a 1 right here. It doesn't just go away because it cancels. I have a negative and a negative, that's going to give me a +1. All right? Now the very last problem that we have for today is at the bottom of the page, and this just goes back to something we've been doing already this year, which is evaluating, which means I'm going to take this value for k and plug it in here. And the reason we're going to do this is so you can see a problem with a lot of fractions in it. So this is 8 minus -1/2 raised to the 3rd power over -1/2 minus 2. All right, you will have to do this on your homework. We're going to go through working a problem through with fractions. Remember, on both my numerator and denominator, I've either got to add or subtract with a fraction. I need a common denominator. First of all, in my numerator, I've got an exponent. Remember something about this. First of all, negative is getting multiplied 3 times, so it is going to be negative. And this would then be 1 to the 3rd over 2 to the 3rd. This exponent applies to the top and to the bottom. So when we go to simplify this, this is 8 minus -1/8. On the bottom, we don't have any exponents or any multiplication or division. Here's what we do have, subtraction. We need a common denominator. So take the 2, put a 1 under it. Now, in order to get these to be common, I need to go up. This needs to get bigger. I want it to be a 2. So if I need to multiply the bottom by 2, multiply the top by 2. And so now I have a common denominator, and that is 2. My numerator is -1 minus 4, which is -5. Now, go to my numerator. First of all, this is just subtraction. Minus a negative is plus a positive. Put a 1 under your 8, so it is a fraction. I need a common denominator, I need it to be 8, so I'm going to multiply this by an 8 and this by an 8. Now I have a common denominator of 8. I have 64 here, 8 times 8, plus 1 is 65. And this is over -5/2. Don't freak out, this isn't bad. Remember something, when we talked about the 3 ways that you could write division, This is the fraction way. Remember, I showed you this fraction bar means divide. Write it with that division symbol, it's easier. So here's what we're going to do. Write this as 65 over 8 divided by negative 5 over 2. Now, exactly, we're going to do the keep switch flip. So this is 65 over 8 times negative 2 over 5. Now I can cancel. All right, so first of all, 2 goes into itself once and into 8 4 times. 5 goes into itself once and into 65 13 times. I have a positive times a negative, so my answer will be negative. 13 times 1 in the numerator and 4 times 1 in the denominator. Don't be afraid to work with fractions, but it will be easier if you show all your steps.
That was difficult.